Hi, I'm Fowler. Welcome to the live production feedback stream. We got a lot of tracks this week, got 15 to go through, so we're going to kind of move pretty quick. But before we do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Ronnie. So thanks, Ronnie, for making the stream possible. If you want to take part in the live production stream, which is basically where we just hang out in the studio, listen to some music, see what you guys have been working on throughout the week, feel free to hop over to my Discord channel. That's where all the action is. It's discord.gg/FowlerMusic. There's links everywhere. Click them, whatever. All right, let's get into the tracks. We gotta go. This is the button I want. Here we are. Okay. Sorry, I have bad allergies today. Spring is kicking off, and I have taken some allergy meds, and it has made it drastically better, but I may still sneeze 12 or 14 times today in the stream. Okay, let's take a listen to Nitro and Dwan Johnson. Wait for Me.
Don't know what to do, how to do it. Know that I should leave, but I hate it. Know that you're not the right one. If you were falling, will you fall with me? If I was calling, will you answer me? The timing was off, but would you wait for me? Would you wait for me?
Okay, my first thought that just stuck out to me immediately was that it's very cooked. Like, these vocals are very loud.
Don't know what to do, how to do it.
I don't think they need to be that compressed or hot. Like, they're very sizzly, right? And the whole track might be a little over compressed. This is the drop section, this is the build-up section, and I know that they do look a little different, but like, this is super loud when it doesn't really need to be. It's kind of a chill spot, right? And you also lose some contrast when you have this super hot and loud and powerful, and then you go to a drop. I don't know. I think you should maybe just pull this back a little bit in terms of compression. Let's listen to the drop. It's a cool drop. I think that maybe take the master effects off and take a look at, I feel like there may be some synths or something that are really a lot louder than everything else, and your master limiter is just kind of grabbing it all, because I hear like a lot of pumping happening. Yeah, it just sounds overcompressed or something. Like, it's really, I like the choppiness, but I think the overcompression is kind of lessening the choppiness of it. And you got to be careful too. I hear a lot of very dense chords, and they may or may not be playing nice with each other all of the time. It could be the reverb of the previous chord is still quite present and is trailing out as the other chord is being played, and that could cause dissonant notes to happen together. But I think overall, I would really suggest taking the mastering effects off and making sure that like all of your elements are sitting in a good spot mix wise, so that the master effects can do their job a little more effectively. Okay, let's listen to the breakdown.
Don't know what to do, how to do it. Know that I should leave, but I hate it. Know that you're not the right one. If you were falling, will you fall with me? If I was calling, will you answer me? The timing was off, but would you
Yeah, I think it's just a little too cooked. Hey Corey, what's up, sunshine? Um, yeah, too cooked. I think there's some like gating kind of choppiness, but there's other elements on top of that choppiness that are kind of convoluting the rhythm or the syncopation of the chop. Yeah, I hear a little that, like I hear like a choppiness that's kind of being masked by the rest of the track on top of everything else. But it's a cool track. I definitely like what it's doing. I don't think it's a writing problem. I think that in my opinion, it's just not as mixed as it should be before it's getting sent into the master limiter, and the master's just like, okay, here's what I can do with it. It's maybe a little short. I don't know. That's kind of personal preference. It's only 2.5 minutes long, so maybe extend it a little bit. But yeah, first and foremost, get the mix under control. See if there's any. I have a sneaking suspicion that if you look at your mixer strips or whatever, I don't know what's DAW you use, but one of the synths is just going to be like really really loud, or one of the elements is going to be really loud, and the rest of them or they're all going to be really loud. There's just something going on causing the master limiter to work very hard. But yeah, cool track. Moving on, let's check out Netfelix Siege version 0.6 or 6. Who knows? We'll never know. Okay, you've really got me torn on that snare drum. Like the snare, I want to not like it, but I do like it. I don't know. It sounds like it's like. I think I like the sound of the snare, but I don't like how it sounds like the rest of the track is getting like reduced by it or something. I don't know. There's something up with that snare, and I like how crunchy it is, but the track is responding to it in kind of a weird way. And I'm wondering if it has to do with the way your master limiter is interacting with that and all the other stuff that's happening. Like maybe just solo your kick and your snare and see what kind of gain reduction you're getting on the master, and see if you can tweak those two elements to work better together, because the kick wants to be the main element, but when that snare happens, the snare's like, nah, I'm the main element. Okay, so another thing that kind of comes to mind when I listen to it is there's a lot of really cool musical elements happening with the strings and whatnot, but I'm not hearing a clear motif. I'm not hearing a clear something that I could say is the melody of the track. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of really cool riffs and runs and all kinds of stuff, but I feel like maybe try to find something that you think is a strong little, 2 to 6 note pattern. I'm just kind of picking random numbers arbitrarily, but like, you know what I mean? Like it needs like a theme or a motif or a hook almost. And then repeat that a little bit more or give it more presence or importance by maybe dropping stuff out and having that melody happen. I think you have a lot to choose from, but it's almost like there's too many melody, or the melody is too long before it repeats or something, because it just kind of sounds like a cello player rocking out, you know? All right, let's back it up a little bit. And I agree with Eswin. The intro and breakdown, like, I think it could for sure go off on a tangent, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then maybe have it anchored with like one little melody line that gets stuck in my head that I could hum to somebody else to say, "Hey, have you heard this song?" Or whatever. That kind of came to mind to me because I like all the musical stuff that's happening, but it's just kind of running, you know. Okay, so here's the second drop. Yeah, that snare, I want to say that snare is accidentally cool. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like there's something wrong with the mix or the master, but it sounds cool in a character kind of way, but not in a technical kind of way. I don't know. I think you need to try to harness that sound, that kind of distorted snare, but especially here, it just sounds like it takes over the entire mix when that snare hits. And then again, with the melody note, it still just kind of sounds like a cello player's just ripping, just like doing a solo, right? But the guitar solos rarely get stuck in your head unless it's like an Eddie Van Halen, like classic rock. They're cool, but it's the main hook or melody that gets stuck in your head. So I would try to almost like go through all of the melodies that you created in this piece and like pick something and repeat it more often or give it more importance and let that be the main driving force. Or don't, because it's not my track, but that's what I think. I think it's really cool. It's very it's got a lot of character, especially that snare drum. I would try to keep the character but make it work better technically so that you're not smashing the master with the kick and snare at the same time. Okay, good job. Let's move on. Paranerd, Mr. Analog Gear himself. Let's have a listen to what I can only imagine, based on what I know about him and what I can see, is a very unique and strange track, and I'm excited. Okay, so this is funny. I have my mic muted, which is actually was what I was talking about. I had to mute my mic because what I have on this on my OBS thing is that uh, I have a side chain that reduces my microphone level all the way down when the music is playing so that you don't hear it through my speakers. But because the note that I was saying when my mic was off is that these tracks are so transient-y and dynamic that I actually have to mute my mic because the mic will come up in between those little transients. I know it's kind of par for the course. It's kind of it's the style, but I would be interested to see what happened if you just cut these peaks off a little bit and then brought everything else up a little bit. It kind of sounds maybe a little too dynamic to me. I mean, yeah, it's really nice. I can like when I hear this, all I can picture is like a table full of analog gear with like LEDs flashing and like going and stuff. It's really good. Yeah. If anything, like my notes for this would be to maybe try to modernize it or something a little bit, like especially when it comes to the dynamics. But I don't really know because maybe that would ruin the vibe. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I really like it. And there is like, okay, so there is this melody that's like dun 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 or whatever. Dun 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 or whatever. That melody is really good and catchy, but I find that maybe if you added a layer that was playing that same thing that was more than just the bass, that could be cool. To really drive that melody home because it's great. It's catchy. I enjoy it. I just think I have to work a little too hard to hear it. I need to listen carefully, but maybe that's what you're going for. Overall, dope as always. I love these unique tracks. So keep it up. All right, Rayhem. We got a real short one here. Let's have a listen. Careless. Yeah, this is really good, man. Obviously vocals maybe go outside and grab a vocalist. I don't know. It doesn't really need it, but it could have it maybe. I don't really have too many notes for this. This is sounding really good. The one thing that kind of I didn't like was when it I don't mind when it when it does that, but this little snare buildup, like the track feels so genuine and authentic. I just find that the clap buildup thing is maybe just a little too cliche, or I don't know. It takes away from like the timelessness of it. Like it kind of sounds timeless, but then when you bring in those claps, it just sounds like another EDM drop buildup thing. Yeah, but when it kicks in, it's dope. I feel like it definitely could be mastered a little bit, maybe mixed and mastered a little bit. The drum, the kick and the snare, or kick and the clap words are like loud, right? But then you got kind of the rest of the song just like chilling down in this kind of range. You can kind of see, and you know, this is almost something, if you're getting stuck with a track, or you're kind of a little stale on a track that you've been working on for a while, or you can't seem to figure out a problem, sometimes stemming it out, rendering it out as a file and loading it back into a blank project, and just looking at the waveform sometimes will give you ideas that you might be missing out because you're looking at the project as a whole, right? But yeah, it's really good. I think you should keep working on it and go outside and steal a vocalist and finish it, because it's dope. That's all I got for that one. All right, we got another short one here. Wormhole, Feel Alive.
I can't deny, I feel alive. I can't deny, I feel alive. I feel alive.
Okay, very cool. Cool drop. The problem is your kick is, how do I put this? Your kick is tiny. It is minuscule, as radio. I actually thought of that word. The kick is so short, and the side chain, as we can see here, there's just this like no man's land, which happens every quarter note, and you can kind of imagine what effect that has on the volume of the overall volume of the track. You've got a sharp transient, which is the kick, and then you've got this kind of dead space where there's not a whole lot happening, right? And that happens every quarter note with about 25%, I would say. If you take this length from kick to kick, I would say 25% of it is almost silence. So I would audition better kick drums and maybe tweak the sidechain a little bit, because at first I was like, oh, there's no sub bass, but there is a sub bass. It's just being sidechained so long compared to the length of the kick. It's kind of cool, like it's kind of artistic and unique. It's definitely unique, but I don't know. You know, if you had a 5-wheel car, that's unique. I'm not sure that it would be desirable, but it's unique. So I would audition different kicks and get the side chain to play a little bit nicer. Like that side chain might be an okay shape if the kick was contributing a lot more to the track. I'd also, you know, I would use this chance to maybe bring the vocal back, or maybe some little melody thing from the intro to tie it together so it doesn't just feel like two different things.
Feel alive.
Yeah, I mean, if you just put Feel Alive right there, like let's
I feel alive.
I mean, I'm just gonna roughly place this here.
I feel alive.
super rough, but I mean, like, it's kind of a no-brainer to put that there, right? Yeah, musically, stylistically, it's super cool. Definitely try some different kicks. Make sure your side chain isn't working against you, and keep going. It's a cool start. Okay, WTM. Don't mess with the sheriff. Oh, God. Okay, definitely need to figure out your sub range here. There's either a side chain or something. You can hear the kick, the tail of the kick interacting with the sub bass, right? Especially right here when it goes to that note. You can hear that rumble, like if we just listen to the sub range. It's like va 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 va. And everything is super dry. Yeah, interesting is a good word. This is unique. Everything is very cut and dry. Like the. Yeah, I think you're gonna have to really work out the bottom end. I would say I have uh, more notes on this, but I think to keep it kind of in a reasonable scope, I would just focus on the bottom end and figure out for this style of music what is typically useful or what typically works well. Oh, what happened to my? There we go. When it comes to the sub range and and how it interacts with the kick drum. Because you can really hear it there. Also, you're kind of using like techno drums for trap style, which, hey, use whatever you want. You don't even use drums. Use the sound of you slapping yourself in the face. It doesn't matter, but it does kind of. I think the reason why trap drums sound like trap drums is because that sound works with the style, whereas this kind of sounds like techno drums. So maybe go and find some decent trap sample packs with like one shots and drums and snares and kicks and stuff, and update your sample library. I mean, I have over the years have these. You can never have too many samples as long as you organize them properly, so you're not digging through folders and folders. But anyway, yeah, I would audition some better drum sounds. I have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about sub separation. It's youtube.com/FWLR Check that out, and that will shed some light on why you shouldn't have clashing elements in the sub range, like what you have here with the long kick. The kick lasts quite a while and is playing a note, basically. It's like a bass note, right? But you also have a bass playing a bass note at the same time, and they're not always the same. Oh, you're using caustic. Okay, yeah, that's tricky. I've used caustic before, and it's cool. And it's cool that you can, do it on your phone or whatever. But man, you are quite limited with that. But hey, if you're determined, you can make anything work. There's some real spicy musical things happening with that flute that I'm a fan of. But yeah, I don't know, man. Caustic might be holding you back. I'm not saying it's not a useful tool and you can't create good stuff on it, but it is very limited, like you just said. And I don't know. Maybe it's time to experiment with something. I don't know if you have a PC. If you don't have a PC, if all you have is like your phone or tablet to make music on, then you're gonna have to make it work one way or another. I know you can load your own samples into Caustic. I've done it before, but it's not that the features aren't there. It's just that it's hard to do on a little phone screen. At least for me, I'm used to having 3 screens, a mouse, and a keyboard. So, yeah, yeah. I don't know. You must be able to sidechain on Caustic. I don't know how, but look into it. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Thanks for sending. Amnesia, love me now.
The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow. I'm reaching out, but all I feel is hollow. I wanna make you work, but all I do is make you worse. The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow. Don't you wanna come on over?
Okay, first of all, cool vocals. I dig them. Try getting rid of all that percussion stuff at the start. Just like play chords and let the vocals go. Just see what that's like. I honestly think that would be a lot better. There's something in music that it's not a rule, but it's a useful guideline to keep in mind. And it's try to introduce one or two things at a time. Right now at the top of the track,
The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow.
we got chords, we got a big boom effect, we got hi-hats that are playing on the offbeat with nothing on the downbeat, so that kind of throws you off a little bit. There's claps, there's echoey percussion, vocals. I don't know if I said vocals already. There's a lot hitting us all at once, right? With this, I'd start chords, singing. That's it. And then start building in, adding layers one at a time. Add in some percussion, add in the claps. That way we're not overloaded with new information. As the listener, we're able to kind of keep up with digesting what's happening in the mix.
Don't you wanna?
So like vocals and chords, then here maybe build up with a little bit of effects.
Don't you wanna come on over? Don't you wanna work it out? Don't you wanna love me better?
Then you could bring in those percussions there, but I still, the upbeat hi-hat with nothing on the downbeat it kind of confuses the listener a little bit, because we're trying to figure out where that downbeat is, right? We're trying to figure out where to nod our head to, but you're giving us the opposite, the upbeat. And it's not that doesn't necessarily always work, but yeah.
Love me now, love me now, love me now. Don't you love me now, love me now. Don't you love me now, love me now. Don't you?
Okay, so again, the note that I just said about introducing one thing at a time kind of carries through to this. So we have this build up and then we have this drop. So now we have a drop, which by the way is not quite delivering on the build. Like the build kind of makes me think that a different thing is going to happen. But we have this sustained high note, we have the vocals, we have the super saw paddy thing, we have the drums and the sub bass. I think stripping it back, like I think the delete button or right clicking if you're in FL Studio is going to be your best friend to try and carve out a better arrangement. And some of those super saw chords are a bit dense, like there's too many notes very close to each other. So maybe investigate those chords, see if there's a, I'm not trying to say use conventional triads or just like three notes or anything like that, but there's just some notes that are not jiving together to my ears.
The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow. I'm reaching out, but all I feel is hollow. I wanna make you work, but all I do is make you worse.
Same note here, that offbeat hi-hat, especially because we kind of have the dotted eighth or dotted quarter note pattern. The dotted quarter dun 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 dun, like that's already not hitting on the quarter note. It's kind of a complex pattern, and to mix that with just the upbeat and then the occasional kick drum is just, it's a bit clunky. So I would try to ground the song a little more rhythmically and give the listener a better chance at knowing where to nod their head, I guess. The problem I think with the drop is I can't tell that it is the drop. There's not enough change between the build-up and the breakdowns and the drop. It's just, okay, now we have like a bit more drums. So I think that's what you got to look at. And again, it comes down to the arrangement of like looking if you have, you know, a project with all these tracks. Can you look at the track visually and be like, oh, there's the drop, there's the build or whatever? I don't think it's super clear in this one. Yeah, it's those. I'm not a huge fan of the super saws, but I'm not really. And hey, I know the whole Twitter thing, but I'm not really a huge fan of that, and that's my personal taste. But having those like dense chords just kind of being sustained and not doing anything, they're just like, here is a super saw pad being played, and it sustains over you know, maybe an eighth note or something. It's not really doing it for me. And then the sustained note, I think you've got a lot of good stuff for the intro and the breakdowns and the melodic sections. I think the drop you need to rethink almost entirely. Like I would save this as a new version or a new project, and then just kind of start over on the drops. You got a lot of good stuff in there for the melodic spots, but the drops are just not really doing anything for me. They're just kind of a slight evolution of what's already happening in the build-up sections. So I don't want to sound discouraging, but yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Maybe try to get the arrangement a little bit better to follow some sort of storyline or arc. Get the drops more differenter than the intro and the builds, and then also try to root the rhythm a little bit better so it's not as hard to find. And that's what I have to say about that. So thanks for sending. Now we're moving on. Bleed Expo. Wow, that's cool. Okay, yeah, this is super funky. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening here. Let's see, what was my first note? The pad thing, I think it should be sidechain a little bit. Not crazy deep or anything like that, but just a little bit. Now, we can see the problem here for this drop, and it's that the kick drum is very loud compared to the rest of the track. I mean, like if we just look at look at the kick drum goes right to 0 and the rest of the track is like way down, right? There's a lot of cool stuff in here, but man, that kick drum is loud and kind of dull. So the fact that the kick drum is loud and a bit dull, it makes the track sound dull, because that's mostly what we're hearing is that kick drum. Well, actually, I shouldn't say just the kick drum. Look at the sub bass. So yeah, the low end of the track is kind of doing its own thing. The rest of the track is doing its own thing, and they just kind of happen to be in the same file. Musically, they're fine working together. Like, I don't hear any clashing notes or anything, but mix-wise, This is kind of like a band-aid. But I'm just trying to show you what it would sound like if you brought your kick and sub range down so that everything else could be a lot more powerful, because this track is not a chill track. It's a cool, upbeat, powerful track. So you got to get those other elements up in the mix. And then the way you get them through the master is by turning down the kick and the sub so that everything can come up, right? It's very complextro, or like, I'd maybe take a listen to some Justice or Mastercraft, like that kind of style of music to get some inspiration. Especially for like the clap or snare, there doesn't really, all I'm really hearing is like a kick and a sub bass, and then everything else is underneath that. So fix that, please. So in this section, I don't know if the low pass filter is really doing anything for you. To me, I'm just kind of like waiting for the next section. So I don't know if this section is necessary, or if maybe it's because the low pass filter, like you got that super cool thing, synth with the LFO thing happening. That's really cool. I don't really understand why it's low pass. It's not making room for something else. There's nothing on top of the mix in the high frequency range that we're like bringing that thing, we're subduing that thing back. It's almost like you're still giving that to us as the main character, but you've low passed it. So I don't know if that's working for you or against you. I think it's working against you. And the clap is just kind of meh. Yeah, this is super cool. It's just that the kick and the sub being so loud, like they're very much louder than the rest of the track. If you go and you find spots that don't have any sub and you look at how big it is, and this comes back to, like I said, sometimes it's a good thing to render out stems or render out the whole track as a waveform so you can kind of physically see what it looks like. Because if you did that, you might be like, oh my god, the kick is so loud, you know? Like you could probably turn the kick and sub bass down 6 or 7 dB, turn everything else up, and all of a sudden your track's going to sound way better. And that's my main note for that. I think that is going to do this track wonders. And then get it, either learn how to master it properly yourself, or it needs to be more compressed. There's too much dynamics for this style of music. It's like almost like a metal band playing on acoustic guitars or something. I don't know if that's a good analogy. Maybe just disregard that. And also try to find an arrangement that makes sense to keep going. I mean, you're only at 2 minutes. It's kind of short. I wouldn't make it longer just for the sake of making it longer, but I think there's a lot of cool things to explore within this track. So I guess keep going, keep writing, and fix the balance between the kick and the sub range and the rest of the track. Okay, next we got Mr. 6 dB of headroom here. Let's master that. Mastered. Okay, drop pop. Who am I? Okay, I really like it up until this part. What if that? It almost sounds like a fake electric guitar or something. The track has a shape like this. There's not a lot of low end. There's not a lot of high end. It's kind of sounds a bit crushed or something overall, which I'm not a fan of. Kind of reminds me of like Chemical Brothers or something, the way you're using that vocal chop. It's really cool. I did not, however, think that that part was cool. The pitchy thing, I don't know. It's a bit tacky, I think. There's also a vocal chop that felt off time to me. That one right there. I don't know, it feels off time, might not be, but that's what it feels like. Yeah, man, this sounds like, it sounds lo-fi. I'm going wild! You definitely have a style. You have a sound, which is good. I don't know why this didn't happen back here. It almost sounds like you had a build into a breakdown, into a build, into a drop, which seems strange to me. I would like get to that section sooner rather than later. There's also like the vocal chop that says "I'm going wild," and it only really happens at that. Like I don't know. We have like this vocal chop. We have that vocal chop, which I kind of expect to be the vocal chop. But then when you drop, you use this other vocal thing that doesn't have anything to do with that, or if it does, it doesn't sound like it does. They kind of sound unrelated to me, which is weird. And the track kind of feels a little choppy, clunky. Generally not a fan of dropouts like that. But that's just me. Okay, now we have a melody, but there was no hint to that. Yeah, okay. I think I got it. You need to go through this track and decide what the track is. I think this feels very much like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I think now you need to see what sticks and carry it back and create I'm almost hearing like the process of you figuring this track out as it plays across left to right, if you know what I mean. So maybe take the melody, the vocal chop, decide on how the track is going to go, and then write it accordingly. I think the arrangement is what's holding this back the most. I'm going wild! I mean, I'm not getting bored in the drop. There's lots of cool stuff happening. Yeah, I really think it's an arrangement thing. You need to just take an inventory of all the cool stuff in this track and then build the track start to finish with all that stuff in mind. Also, there's like there's kind of a lot of lo-fi-ness stuff happening. Like it's very mid-heavy. But anyway, yeah. Go write the track now. You've got some cool stuff to work with. The drops are cool. Now we'll make the arrangement better. Moving on. All right, Aswin. Apparently the intro to this is quite something. So let's hope that I'm not deeply disappointed. Just joking. All right, let's take a listen. Okay, you were right. The kick and sub range, just the bottom end of the track is too loud. Sounds muffly. I think it's mostly, if we look at the spectrogram, that's a big bottom end. A little too big. I had something else. What was it? Oh, right. I don't know how you're doing the glitches, but it sounds like that D blue glitch plug-in, and I think it's the ear, like the tape stop. Maybe use those just a little more sparingly. I like the chops and the this and the that and the weird stuff that's happening, but the ear, like the stuff that keeps happening with the tape stops. Yeah, specifically right there. I don't know, just that one section just kind of sounds like it's there because it has to be or something, like that one little section. The rest is super cool. Okay, so obviously the bottom end needs some finessing. The bottom end doesn't feel right to me. It's too loud and disconnected from the rest. But also, totally forgot what else I was gonna say. Oh right, okay, I got it. There's like this like echoey plucky thing, and it goes the entire drop. What would it be like if it didn't happen at the start of the drop? I don't know, but I think it might be better. Yeah, there's a lot of bleed from the intro into the drop. You know, there's a lot of stuff that just keeps chugging along as if nothing happened. And I think that is lessening the impact. Now, it doesn't sound, it's obviously not like a build, words, drop kind of EDM thing. But at the same time, it kind of just happens, and maybe that's what you're going for, and maybe keeping it at the start but taking it out halfway through this makes sense. I just know that there's a lot of the same sound happening throughout the whole drop, and that makes me feel like I'm not moving forward or making progress in time, right? Biggest thing is just get the bottom end under control, though. The rest is really dope. It's really cool. I want you to keep going, so keep going. And not because I told you to, but because you are legally required to. Okay, next is Westbrook's remix of Gemini, Fire Inside. Let us go. Very cool. When the war drums come in, if we listen to just the bottom end. Now, I'm not saying that the bottom end always has to be a perfect sine wave, but that just sounds like rumble to me, and I think it's probably like war drums are tricky to do in this context because you can't take out the sub range. They're kind of just by nature, they are dissonant in the bottom end. They're rumbly and stuff, right? But I think maybe take a look at the reverb. Can you cut the lows out of the reverb or something? It's just the bottom end is very the whole time. Okay, I dig this. I wonder, again, like this kind of the same note as for Ezra and last one, there's like the hi-hats or there's like a trap hi-hats or a ride or something. What would it sound like if that wasn't there? That sounds like an element that you would bring in halfway through the drop as a pickup to like add something so that now we're like moving in a different, or we're moving at a faster pace. I think the snare is a bit buried, both with the amount of reverb that's on it and just kind of the volume. The sub is a little loud. Yeah, you can see in the spectrogram the sub is clearly, it's probably like 6 dB too loud. I find the track overall is lacking high end, but specifically the snare is quite dull as well, and that could come down to the amount of reverb on it as well. It's dope though, like track wise it's cool. Mix wise, sub's too loud, snare's too weak, and maybe arrangement wise, like I said, try to just see what it sounds like if you just pull everything except like the dun dun dun, those synths and like the kick and the snare, and see what it sounds like. Maybe there's not enough stuff there, but if you build it up, and like you could do, I feel like you're missing some opportunities to do some cool shit because it's so messy. And I know this is like a me thing to do, and not necessarily is it a you thing to do, but like if I were you, I'd build those vocals up, everything's all messy, and then it cuts down and it's just super tight, like kick and snare, and there's not a lot of reverb or any reverb. And then halfway through the drop, you bring in some of the looseness again and you kind of shake it up. Yeah, that's my main thing. It's not that it's bad, it's just I think it would be better if you did that. And kind of objectively, the sub range is too low, or sorry, too loud. Okay, I want to skip this, which is maybe an indication. Yeah, I feel like this section could use something to keep my interest. Like I'm like skip, you know? this is super cool. I love the second drop. I really thought I was gonna do drum and bass, but it didn't. And who does that, right? Also, is that a gun sound from Star Wars? It sounds like it also sounds like my old high school had like a bunch of little ribs on the side of the building, and if you clapped your hand, it would make that same sound for some physics reason. I like it. DS the vocals, that's the other thing. I can see the S right here. Listen to this S right here. DS. The whole track kind of has a bit of a film on it. Like it kind of feels dusty or something. I feel like the top end, and you can see it in the spectrum. I'm not talking about this because that's the MP3. That's just the frequencies that are cut off when you render it as an MP3. But you can see this dip before it gets to that hard cutoff. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not saying just go on your master bus and add, 10K and up. But maybe try to find the offending parties in the mix, maybe there's like a certain synth or chord or like the detuned thing, the hits that are not, they're adding a lot of mid-range and a lot of high mids, but they're not adding a lot of air. And because they're so loud in the mix takes on that shape, right? So I would dust the dust off and add some more air to the track somehow, de-ess the vocals, turn down the sub range because it is too loud, and it's no easy task to fix this section with the rumbly war drums. That is a tough one to do. You have to get creative, and it's not even that bad, but it is very atonal in the low end. Like if I soloed this whole section leading up to the drop and listened to just the sub bass, I couldn't tell you what key it was in because it's just rumbles, right? So maybe try to address that. And try getting a little tighter with the drop. Maybe cut her vocal right off when the first snare hits and there's no reverb or anything. Get rid of those hi-hats. Just experiment a little bit with it. And again, I know that's very much my style, so take that with a grain of salt. Okay, cool. Very cool. Very good. Grim. A, B, C, D, E, F, U. Wow. Remix. Okay. I feel like I should know this song, and maybe I do. Here we go. Okay, first of all, this second note that's being played. If you just listen to that note with the chord thing that's kind of sustaining the same note over and over again over the whole drop, they do not work well together. So that's a tough one. But again, sometimes just taking all of your melodic elements or anything that's playing a note and only listening to those, and make sure that at any given point there's not a whole lot of dissonance happening. That kind of chord progression threw me off a little bit because of the clash in those background sounds with the bass sound. That it's almost like one note that's being played. When you go up to that second note in the bass, it doesn't work very well with that note.
When it ended, even tried to bite my tongue when you started shit. Now you're texting all my friends, asking questions. They never even liked you in the first place. They hit a girl that I hate for the attention. She only made it 2 days with a connection. It's like you'd do anything.
Okay, hear me out. Unless this is like a DJ thing, I don't understand why it does this, then it breaks down, then the vocals come in. Like I don't know. I think arrangement wise, maybe don't even do this here. So like maybe so instead of doing that, jump right to here. Unless, like I said, there's some DJ reason to do that. I'm not an extremely DJ oriented person. So maybe that's the reason why. But listening to it from a listening point of view, yeah.
The best when it ended. Even tried to bite my tongue when you started shit. Now you dated a girl that I hate for the attention. She only made it 2 days with a connection. It's like you'd do anything for my affection. You're going all about it in the worst ways. I was into you, but I'm over it now. And I was trying to be nice, but nothing's getting through, so let me spell it out. A, B, C, D, E, F. You and your mom and your sister and your job and your broke ass car, and that's what you call our fun. You and your friends that I'll never see again. Everybody but your dog, you can all fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. It's like a top 40s remix. I typically am not super into top 40s remixes, but this is fun. I like this. I don't really have too many criticisms besides, maybe the arrangement wise, and I just feel like this little section was far inferior to the rest of the track. But yeah, the rest of it sounds pretty well mixed. It sounds like a top 40s remix, which is what it is, so I guess mission accomplished. I don't really have any major concerns regarding the mix or master. Yeah, I like this section, but it kind of sounds like maybe a half measure. Like it's maybe it kind of sounds like it's full throttle or trying to be full throttle, but it's not quite full throttle, if that makes sense. So maybe instead of doing, it's kind of like a half fake out. Like maybe just make it this long and have it go. And then just do that one thing without any drums and then into the drop or something. Because that section just seemed a little awkward to me. But besides that, yeah, I would say your mixing and mastering is improving. So keep doing the improving. Good job. Let's move on. Okay, the person who didn't put their name in the post, even though they're supposed to, and they named it 4A89BA3BE0B92491. Okay, let's have a listen. Okay, right off the bat, this kind of reminds me of mindless self-indulgence that I used to listen to in high school. It's fast and weird, and I like it. Okay. This is weird, but I like it. But it's weird. And I think that there's a few things that need to be tamed down. First of all, the sub range is kind of a mess. Let's have a listen to what's even going on in the sub range. Let's go down here, have a listen. So there's not a whole lot happening. It's mostly the sound of the kick. The sub bass, there's like one note that it plays that gets quite loud compared to the rest of them. The rest of them, they're not really there. The melody is all over the place and weird and wacky, and that's fine, but there's some notes that are happening where I'm just like, like there's a couple little notes that aren't really jiving that much, and every once in a while they'll just jab in. I'm like, oh, there's that note, I guess. That bum bum. I don't know if that really works in the key of the song. Like that one too. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe embrace it. Maybe don't. I don't know. But I do know that the sub range should be more solid. I would figure out your chord progression, which you already have. Don't listen to anything except the kick and the sub bass, and then get them sounding nice and solid, like a nice solid foundation to build the rest of the track on. That's my biggest piece of advice for this, is to go back, just make sure that bottom end is solid, because it has to be solid for everything else to fall on top of it and sound right. Yeah, no, like it just kind of sounds like a sad trombone or something. Ah, there's a little hint. That I can hear a lot of sub bass in that. Hear it? You can hear like the rumble after it's done playing. Might be something else, but I think it is. So definitely go on YouTube, look up my sub separation video, youtube.com/FWLR music. I have a playlist with all my production techniques and stuff in it. One of them sub separation, and I think that would be a good video for you to watch to learn how to get the foundation of your house or track solid and go from there. Super wacky and unique. Thank you. That was dope. Industry, I'm here, you're not. Okay, so this says post feedback changes, so I'm assuming this is the same track that we heard last time or the time before, and he has gone and made changes, so let's have a listen. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. That's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com.
Hello, it's me. I'm not calling for any particular reason. I just saw like a really pretty like flower bed, and it kind of looked like that game you showed me, and it reminded me of you. And yeah, I've also sent you a picture of it. I just wanted to tell you, I don't know, it reminded me of you, and I'm gonna miss you. So, I'll see you again soon. Have a good day. Bye.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Okay, so far so good. What is this? Is that a mistake or an on purpose? I would say it's an on purpose. It caught me off guard a little. It's cool.
Hey, do you really have to go?
I really like that sound.
Hey, do you really have to call me?
I think that was my biggest piece of advice last time, was to turn that sound up. And it sounds like you have done that, so thank you. I appreciate that. I'm kind of torn on these side chainy things. In some ways I like them, and in some ways I feel like I'm in a partial vacuum for like 10 milliseconds.
So I'm here and thought. That's a little weird. Were you doing police at all?
Oh man, right there. What if you took everything out except the kick and the bow bow and then came in with the beat? I think that would be dope. You know what that sound kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of the Blue Man Group, but if they were in hell. Like I could just see their like blue faces melting as they're hitting pipes with the little spatulas or whatever, and it's making that sound. Yeah, man, this is really good. I feel like my only other thought is that sometimes those kind of like the drumstick sounds are a bit harsh or a bit loud or in your face or complicated. I don't know. It's just every once in a while they kind of get on my nerves a little bit. It kind of takes away from the smoothness of it, but maybe that's the point. Also, I kind of felt like this was building up to something, but I kind of built up and then just kind of like kept going. Not necessarily a problem, but did want to mention it. The snare for this drum and bass part. I also don't love this section of silence, but that's, you know, that's a bold choice. The snare is still, it sounds too much like a drumstick on the rim of a snare. I believe that is called a rim shot. It's a bit too bamboo-y. Like, maybe if you're gonna go drum and bass, I'm not saying like all of a sudden have a new snare, but I don't know. I kind of feel like a more like boom, like a boom kind of snare might be a bit better for this section. Yeah, I think it's almost there, man. It's definitely sounding dope. Good job. I don't remember all the notes I gave you last week or the week before, whenever it was, but I have drastically less notes this time, so that's a good sign. All right, K-Duck, Dying Star. Oh, by the way, this is our last track. I know some of you have sent in some tracks. I would like to have time to do them today, but they'll have to wait till next week. But they will get included whenever somebody sends in tracks, and they tag production feedback in my Discord in the production feedback channel. I just go up until the last song for this week. Like next week, I'll go until K-Duck, and then I'll pick all of the songs after that. So you will get into the stream, just probably next week. Okay, that it's cool, but that bass is like an octave too high or something. I'm waiting for it to drop down to the sub. Like I feel like I'm holding in a sneeze or something. It might be cool to do. And then have it go down an octave so we get that deep sub bass. That let's see what note this is. C, that's low. Okay, right now you're playing this, but eventually it's kind of too low. Like maybe shift it up a few semitones and then you could play one of those notes. But to me, this sub bass is very strange because it's up an octave from what I would expect it to be. But it's cool. I like the rhythm. It also sounds like it's in a different key than the rest of the song. Yeah, the rest of the song is in E, and then you switch to C when you get to the drop. Maybe just continue it in E. Like do all this stuff, but shift it down an octave and bring it up to E. And I think that's going to net you a pretty good return. There's like it's a cool, like the rhythm and the sound is cool, but you need to get that deep sub bass. We don't want it. I feel like the bass player is like the bass player should be down here, but the bass player is like like he's playing way up on the fretboard. So that's my main concern, and especially because the first part of the track is in E, which is a very easy key to write bass music in. It's one of the easiest to write. I won't say best, but it's, you know, D to kind of G is kind of the safe zone, because that gives you a nice deep bass that's not so low that you can't hear it, like that C. Like that's very low. I can hear it, but like, eh. But yeah, that would be my main concern, is to figure out how to get that sub bass down into the proper octave. And then just kind of continue it. It's just it's a start, obviously. I hope so, because it's only like a minute. Well, it's almost 2 minutes long. But it needs an identity, you know? I like Dying Star. That sounds cool, and it kind of relates to the sound of this. But, you know, carry that content and create an arrangement around like the idea of a dying star. Something cool, conceptual like that could be neat. But yeah, mostly get that sub bass down so we can have it in our subs and not in our nose. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's those are the words that came out of my mouth just now. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today. Thanks everybody for joining in. I love hanging out, love taking listen to what you guys have been working on, and I'm glad that I see other, you know, opinions and feedback and stuff coming through the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat as we're streaming. I'm just one guy giving my honest thoughts on your tracks, but it's awesome to have you guys give each other your thoughts as well. Massive thanks to Ronnie for making the stream possible, and yeah, I guess we'll see you next week. Do some good stuff, and we'll hear from you then. Bye.